Good evening, everyone. Whoops. Good start. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Lawrence Valley Regular Council meeting of Tuesday, September the 19th. We'll open tonight with the Lord's Prayer. Anybody wishes to join us may. Please be seated, Council and staff, as we do. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you. Call to order, Dean.
Mover and a seconder, please.
Wendy and Brian.
Moved by Councillor Hewitt, second by Councillor Hughley, that the regular council meeting of September 19, 2023 be called to order at 5:35.
All in favor? Carried. Roll call, please.
Reed Bennett. Or Mayor Bennett, geez, sorry. Yeah, we're going back in Freudian slip. Sorry. Mayor Bennett.
Present.
Reeve Watt.
Present.
Councillor Keel.
Present.
Councillor Hewitt.
Present.
Councillor Hughley.
Present.
Councillor King.
Present.
Councillor Wren.
Present.
All members present.
Confirmation agenda.
Mover and a seconder, please.
Jennifer and Betty.
Moved by Councillor Gauthier, second by Councillor King, that the agenda of the regular council meeting of September 19, 2023 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Minutes and notes. Approval of June 20th council meetings and July 25th closed council meetings. Keith and Alan.
Moved by Reeve Watt, second by Councillor Wren, that the minutes of the regular council meeting of held June 20th, 2023, and the special council meeting of July 25th, 2023 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Motion for the September 5th council meeting. Wendy and Brian.
Moved by Councillor Hewitt, second by Councillor Hughley, that the minutes of the council and committee meeting held September 5th, 2023 be accepted by council and that the resolution from that committee become resolutions of council.
All in favor? Carried. CAO's report. Questions for Dean? Brian.
My question, just the recruitment going on, is that adding a staff member or is that?
Well, the recruitment, we currently have the recreation coordinator, which has been removed, as we spoke about in a committee meeting some time ago, about removing the coordinator position out of the planning technician's job, so then it becomes a standalone position as per our master recreation plan. And then we are backfilling, we will be trying to backfill the planning technician job as well. So the long and the short of it, it is one more person, yes.
Okay, and I guess we did talk about that
Yes.
already.
And it was included in the budget.
Correct.
This year, I believe.
Well, it was half a year, and we're
Half
not even gonna get half a year. We're only gonna be doing probably a third or a quarter at this point.
Alan.
And the recreation master plan.
Yeah. One thing to add too as well for the strategic plan was just the group led by Katie and Sean asked me to make council aware the next meeting in October, our plan is to have the facilitator here, Ray Bonenberg, will come. We are going to have a session with council, so we're going to hopefully start that meeting, the next council meeting, which is October the 3rd or 4th. I forget what date it is. Anyway, it'll start at 4:10, so we're asking members to try and be here for 4:10. We'll put in an hour or so, an hour and 10 minutes of presentation. He'll walk us through some stuff. He wants to get some feedback, and then we'll move forward. But that's the intent, and I'll be sending out an email in the next day or so just to confirm that. But that's the plan at this point.
Keith.
So does the public engagement survey be included in that? And if so, how is the responses coming? Are we getting lots of information?
I don't know, maybe Sean can comment on the responses. Certainly that is ongoing, the public engagement piece. I know, I'll let Sean comment. He's more versed on how many we've gotten.
Yeah, so we've gotten a pretty good feedback. I don't have exact numbers, but I know that some of the responses over 100, and I think even into 120 in some of the different instances they were in. I know they were looking for, there was like, for the geonoming contest, they were getting responses back, and it was really popular early, and there were like 1 or 2 questions in there, and then for the I believe they've gotten similar types of responses or number of responses in the actual full survey. Katie has all that data. She hasn't deciphered through it yet, but that will be like kind of collating and understanding themes and all that stuff with Ray for that session. So we should have more synthesize, I guess, that data for that session. But I think the responses have been very positive. We only received 2 paper copies back, so I think so obviously that's not a lot, but I think the online piece was very well received. At least that's what I've been seeing. So we will have some themes and some feedback on what those were saying for the session with you.
And follow up, what would be the cutoff date for receiving those?
There hasn't been a cutoff date. Like, they haven't said they're going to end it at a certain time. I think what we'll likely do is, as we move into the engagement with staff and then with council, at some point in time, we'll probably just we won't politicize that or put it out there that we're turning it off, but we'll just turn it off and let it fizzle out. But I don't believe we intend to do that like today or tomorrow type thing. We'll let it keep going for a little while longer until we start to work through and start to get some themes and that kind of thing.
So council can still encourage people to respond. Okay, thank you.
Brian?
Now, Ray was going to be talking with each of the councillors. Is that going to happen before the next council meeting, or when is that scheduled for?
So the way that this meeting that we'll have together will be when the council will have that engagement with him. If council wants to, like if you wanted to have an individual, we would have him follow up, or if somebody couldn't make it, we'll have him follow up individually. But that's as far as I versed at this point in time, that session we have together with all of council will be that opportunity to converse with Ray. And then if somebody wanted to speak individually, they could, and we can set that up and facilitate where we can do that virtually, or he can do that with you virtually.
I just understood that it was each individual. Last time we went through this process, we all met individually with the person, and then before as a group.
I think we discussed that, and we can have that further discussion. I think the first one was just try and have a group session just to kind of outline what we're doing and kind of get some feedback. But I'm certainly, I think, the idea of doing individual meetings is probably a good one as well. So that can be kind of at a later date. Ray can do that, whether they're like virtual settings or whether they're in person, we can discuss. But to get you more feedback, I think that's probably a good, something. I think, and we did discuss that, right? So,
yeah. Well, and we looked at it from just from the cost part of it. That at least for the first, if the discussion is very like if it's going in a good direction and there's a lot of feedback and it seems like there's a lot of energy behind it, and there'll likely then be follow-up, and we can do that. But at least for the first one, to get into the room together, people bounce ideas off of each other, and for lack of a better term, spitball and see where we get was kind of the idea behind this. Whereas if we just went individual, it can be more challenging to get a lot of because if I'm in a room with somebody and somebody says something that I didn't maybe think of, it starts like the more minds together, the better. But I mean, ultimately, we are open to having have Ray and his team conduct individual interviews if that's where he thinks it would be more beneficial after our initial meeting together.
Okay. Anything else for Dean? Treasury report. Anything for Sean? Seeing none?
I guess just to reiterate, when is our first budget? When are we anticipating that, or do you have that? Or
Lori and I spoke today. We went back through my schedule. So my plan was to close, if I recall correctly, I don't have it in front of me, my plan is to close the month of September, and then that's when it will go out to staff. I think the first meeting was into either the end of October or early November. I can't recall exactly what we spoke about today, but
okay.
Yeah.
Sean, can I bother you with an update on these? You sent a new email today regarding Wi-Fi, or not Wi-Fi, but fiber security.
Yeah, so the township was vulnerable, at a point in time, and we have OnServe as our IT contractor. And so they've, over the course of, I guess, better part of the last 2 months, have instituted a couple different protection mechanisms. So one is Barracuda, and I think for the most part, we've worked through that. Barracuda is this, emails come in, and it's a layer of protection before the email actually gets to your inbox, where it will flag it. You'll get an email from Barracuda saying, we've got these sitting in quarantine, they call it, and you'd have to log in and select that you want those emails to come to your inbox, and then therefore it will continue to come to your inbox. And if it's junk or spam, you can say block, and then those won't come to your inbox. So that's the Barracuda piece. Then there's also what's called multi-factor authentication. So you're probably familiar with that if you log into use online banking, where you log in and they'll ask to send you a code to your cell phone. So basically that means that if you don't have that, a hacker could access your email, you'd have no idea, and they could be anywhere in the world. With multi-factor authentication, if I tie my cell phone number to my email account, when I go to log in from different areas, in different IP addresses or whatnot, it will ask to send a code to my cell phone so that I would get that code, enter that code so that the email knows that it's in fact me. And that's the email I sent out today. So on Monday, OnServe is going to turn on multi-factor authentication. So if you go to log in to your email or Outlook, it'll prompt you to set it up. You don't have to right away, but 2 weeks later, it'll give you basically 2 weeks to implement it. If you log out of your iPad, or you go to log in on your computer, you would need to have that code sent to your cell phone to log in. Typically, you only need to do it once from a given spot, because it knows from your IP address where you are that you have authenticated that. So that's that. And then the Wi-Fi piece to it is we're looking to reset the secure Wi-Fi password on Monday. I don't think that will affect anyone here, because I don't think you're on the secure. I think you're on the public, or usually on the public, so that won't matter for you here, but it might if you had a computer or a laptop. So that's what that email was today.
Keith?
So for the authentication part, the first part, can I come over here to work that through first? Because, my technical abilities,
Yeah, you can come over and you can sit down and we can go through it together.
thank you.
Just have your cell phone with you.
We'll just drop them all off, Sean. Okay, anything else for Sean? If not, Public Works, Mark, anything for Mark? Or Mark, anything you want to bring up?
No, I think it's just an overview of our construction activities. We're, as noted, we're working on Irene Street, should be pulverized this week, paved next week, and then moving on to South Wind is in Pleasant View, and we're caught up on that. We did see the line painters in the area today, so they're finally here getting that caught up for us. So they're a little bit behind schedule for us, but they're here as well. So we're moving forward.
So when we're doing Pleasant View, are we doing Stonyfield too?
Yes, yeah, all of Pleasant View and around Stonyfield back out to drive-in as well.
Okay, so we're going all the way down Pleasant View?
Yes, yeah.
All right. I said somebody else, so. Okay, anything else? Ditching wise, where are we with that?
There is a list of the projects that we have completed. I don't know how much more ditching there is left to do, but we do have a couple of cross culverts that have failed that we do have to address before the onset of winter. But I think most of the ditching budget is gone, and I think over budget on some of it because of some culverts that have failed on us. But there's been a considerable amount of ditch work that's been completed this year.
And what about grass cutting in the ditches?
Yeah, so roadside mowing and brushing, we are back at it again. We got our trackless unit back last week, so we're able to start doing some grass cutting and mowing again. It had been gone for close to a month again with some hydraulic pump issues. So it is back, and we're back to the brushing. I know they were brushing Wilson Robinson today and are finishing up, and they're heading Hazley Bays or that area, and we have an outstanding list, and then we're back to kind of this part of the township, heading back to the western part, sort of out Sandy Beach Road and some of those areas. I know there's a long list of things that have been outstanding, and we're hopefully going to get everything wrapped up before the fall.
I also noticed, and I got told about Robinson Road at the corner of 148, Has that been cleaned out yet, or is that on your list?
The brushing, yeah, the ditching wouldn't have happened yet, but the brushing, the crew just said they had just finished that area today, so it should be, the brushing part should be done today.
Good, thank you. Anything else for Mark? Seeing none, planner, Laurie? Anything for Laurie? I know you've been very busy, Laurie.
Yes, it has been.
Okay.
Positive, though.
Alan?
The development at the Old Chinese Restaurant, is there a holdup there? Or do we know what's happening? That not much is, I know there was some water work connection done this past week. Do we know when that project's going to move forward?
Yes, actually, you'll probably see even this week, they were intending to start with more seriously, some of the demolition. So they basically have almost everything in place. We're just waiting for their letter of credit, but the building permit is perched to go, and they're expecting the letter of credit will come from the bank in the next day or so. So they're now with their schedule for construction, it's tied in because it is tied into Petrocan's schedule, but we received that, and they will be well underway this fall. So it's looking good for it to be done, certainly well open by the spring, but definitely a lot of the construction this fall.
Good to see that there's going to be some construction on our side of the road.
Yes.
And we're also hoping that the development across from Tim Hortons is going to begin soon as well.
Mayor Bennett?
Yes.
To you as well. And I can also add that just kind of hot off the press today, so we did also, the expansion for KeyMac was signed, and we just have to register that. We have all the other materials in place, securities, and that, so that will be doubling the size of the building there that's existing at the KeyMac site.
That's great, because I know that he's been concerned that he wanted to get that completed before winter, so that's great. We can give him the go-ahead for that. Okay, mayor's report, verbal, not real busy in August, but I did attend the Fit and Feisty along with several councillors. I thought it was great. It's a wonderful turnout, much more than I think anybody expected. I think they ran out of hamburgers and they ordered 250 or sandwiches, whatever they had. Attended the Fall Flavors on the weekend. They had a beautiful day. I think the crowd was decent. I'm not quite sure how it went in the evening, but there's quite a few people out in the afternoon, so congrats all the volunteers for that. I've had several discussions with Dean regarding MTO, which we will have a discussion on that tonight, as well as development, including what Laura's brought up tonight as well. And lots of conversation with taxpayers and et cetera, but any questions for myself? I'm here. Okay, move on.
Motion, please.
Motion. Alan and Jennifer?
Moved by Councillor Wren, second by Councillor Gauthier, that the council receive the following reports from mid-July to mid-September 2023 at the regular council meeting of September 19, 2023. CAO's report, treasurer's report, public works manager's report, planner CMC report, and the mayor's report.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. So I think we move down to business under corporate services protection. So that's next.
Yep.
Okay, so we have a motion here. I will speak to that because I did receive a call from the mayor. As per the motion that they passed, as we're all aware, and Laurie, you can comment anytime on this as well, with all the flooding that's occurred in the last 6-7 years, there's a lot of different comments, stories, rumors as to what's been done, what hasn't been done, and as the mayor explained to me on the phone, that they're trying to get both sides of the river involved, all the way up with the municipalities, to push for a study to be done, to see if anything else can be done. So I asked Dean to bring it forward tonight, and I can answer any questions, or if I get a motion seconder, we can put it forward. Brian and Keith? A question, Al? No? Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, you have a question? I'm sorry.
At one of our previous meetings, Laurie had mentioned that down Cotton's Island Way or anywhere in those floodplains, that you could raise those structures to a 5-foot level to allow the people to stay there in case we're going to be flooded again. A couple of questions I've had presented to me and I didn't have an answer. They say, what about the septic beds? Like, if you do that, do they just naturally drain out as the water leaves? Do they need to be pumped? That type of thing. And I thought this might be a perfect opportunity to ask that question.
Absolutely. Laurie, I know Claus isn't here anymore, but can you comment on that a bit, or?
Okay, so just a bit. So yeah, in terms of the exception that came in, there usually has been some grace to deal with septic systems that are failing, that you want to improve the water quality situation. So there is, that's looked at. Now, post-flooding, after a flood event, there are instructions that are with the Renfrew County District Health Unit as well that do give advice on what to do with septic systems that have been flooded. They do have to basically dry out, but the normal systems that will work. The other thing is that during flooding, it's always recommended not to pump a tank so that you don't lighten it up and get it to pop. But, those are things that happen during a flood event. But beyond that, if there's an issue with the septic system, then they work through the building inspector and we, sort out a resolution there. Now, just to speak to that other amendment with the lifting, we have had a couple of applications then filed in response to the amendment that did come into place. So that's moving forward.
Now, Laura, I don't know if you can answer this question or not, but I do remember back in 19, when probably our biggest flood, that some of the homes were raised or whatever, and they had to redo their septic system. And at some point, I thought Claus was saying that it had to be above-ground septic system. Has that come into place at all yet, or no? That you know of.
So again, speaking to the septic systems, it is governed by the building code, and most of them, it is the different style. They'd be a raised bed, but unfortunately, that is a little bit more technical in terms of the actual system. So I would just have them reach out directly, because we have varying types of situations right now.
Okay, maybe we can get our CBO at some point to come to a council meeting and kind of get more involved with that, or at least give us a report how it's working out. Okay for now, Keith? Okay. Any other questions? No, good. We have a mover and a seconder?
No, not yet.
Okay. I think Alan did originally, and Brian. Yeah.
Moved by Councillor Wren, second by Councillor Ugly, that the Council of Township of Laurentian Valley supports the resolution from City of Clarence, Rockland regarding a petition to the Minister of Public Safety of Canada to conduct a third-party study of the Ottawa Rivers and its tributaries and basins, and that the city's request that a cross-border consultation board representing the municipalities in support of the petition be created.
All in favor? Carried. Now, can we send a copy to Rockland?
We will do that.
Or should we send them to municipalities in Renfrew County along the water, or?
They've probably done
They
that,
probably
I would
have done
assume
that.
that, I'm sure, if they
Right.
gave us, yeah.
Okay. Okay, next item is animal control.
Information.
Brian?
Just to raise the cat issue again, we've got a dozen going to the pound in this month alone, and a total of 135 of them to this point in the year.
Now, as you said, the contract is coming up.
Well, the
Animal control,
OSPCA, I think there might be, not our animal control contract,
okay.
isn't it, but it's the housing of the animals. But certainly we can, if council so wishes, we can put that, there's not a lot of discussion. It's either do we want to regulate cats or do we not? And I guess in this case, we are one of the municipalities that do. Not a lot of them do, but some do. But we are one of them. So if council so chooses to bring it up, we can certainly bring it forward and have the discussion.
Keith?
Can we get a dollar cost for the last couple of years on how much we spent
Okay.
for the cats?
Didn't somebody say that it was like $220 a cat?
No, but he's just saying that
Yeah.
about how many we've done, so
Just-
we'll get a cost.
300, yeah.
Yeah, we'll do a bit of a report and kind of summarize it in the next, I wouldn't say next committee meeting, but the following committee meeting, maybe November 1. Okay, we'll get
Okay.
something for that.
Alan?
Would there be any sense of splitting it rural and urban? So having a bylaw that we regulate them in the urban areas, but not the rural? And draw a circle where the urban area is, and if anything outside of that?
Certainly not. We can find, maybe, I'm not sure if this is an easy scenario with regards to if we can find out where the cats kind of did do a little bit of a survey to see if they've been in the rural, are we been out in the rural, or are we doing urban? Maybe we can do something. We'll
So I would think a lot of it is people dropping cats off out in the rural area after they have a litter of kittens and they don't want them anymore, so they go to the closest farm and just,
yeah,
Well, we
that
can
may
see-
not solve our problem.
More information, the better.
you know, but if it's in the rural area, then we wouldn't regulate.
No,
them.
but then, but I guess the question would be then, is if I have the litter and I'm an urbanizer and I take a litter and I go out and I dump it on somebody else's into the farms, and then all of a
Then
sudden,
we don't do anything with them.
I know, but then why, if I'm the farm owner, I'm just saying, whoa, just a minute, now, why am I off?
Well, then I guess farmers do what they do with animals that they.
Well, I'm
don't
saying
need.
farmers could be just a residential home. Yeah.
Betty?
Then we end up in the same situation where I was prior to, well, the election, just right around the election time, where I've got a few seniors that have had cats dropped off at their farms, and kind souls that they are, they don't want to see them starve, they feed them, and then animal control won't do anything for them because they say they're now your cats. So I say, okay, so does that force people to then have to pick them up, drop them at their friend's place, and have that person call them? So, I mean, it's
No,
there's
it's-
a vicious cycle. Cats are one of our big, like you say, our biggest problem we've got right now.
Yep. And it might be worthwhile checking what other municipalities do. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, we'll try and put something together
Okay.
and we'll see, bring information, and at this point, we'll just evaluate it.
Okay,
So-
sounds good. Okay, volunteer and staff Christmas events.
Okay, I just put this on as an information item. Again, we're back there. I would like to personally get this sorted out. I put it up earlier because it came to mind with regards to where we're at, what we're doing, with regards to volunteers, with regards to staff. I know seems kind of crazy to talk about it, but I walked into Home Depot in Ottawa and they started Christmas decorations. I don't think it's crazy yet, but however, anyway, having said that, in the past few years, we've kind of had 2 years of a gift basket driven through, I guess, through the garage. Last year we had a little more formal in the garage where we had a little bit of a gathering where all the volunteers were invited and they all each got basically a gift basket. But I know there's some people that still feel that they like the formal meal kind of and the social setting. So I don't know how we come about what's the best solution or how we come to a decision, but we need to make some decisions as to, do we continue what we've done? Do we go back to where we were? Or is there something different altogether? So I'm just putting it out. I'd love some feedback.
Betty?
I'm saying if you're going back to the way we were, we're gonna have to get moving so that you get a venue booked, because they are gonna start disappearing fast.
True.
And if you are considering going back to the old venue, I have no problem spearheading that and trying organizing it if you want.
Well, it's really the volunteers. And I don't know how much time you have, but can each of our reps reach out to the volunteers and kind of get a feeling of do they want what we had last year, or do they want a dinner and music? Is that what we're thinking?
Well, yeah, I guess that's basic, or something else. I mean, it could be something altogether. It could be, I don't know what else you'd do, but it could be something altogether. The issue here is, I think we tried that prior to COVID, and when it was kind of, because people were saying, you know what, people didn't like to dance. The dancing part seems to have it was stalled before. But I mean, you'd like to have something a little past the meal that everybody doesn't run out the door. But we asked before, and people are not really, you'll get a few responses, but you don't get forthcoming. So unfortunately, it's left to us group to decide what's best. But we could certainly go down that path, send out a notice to the chairs of the recs and say, in 3 weeks, we want a decision or an opinion of where he's at. We'll make the decision, but.
Just with the little basket that, as they drive through, I think it's showing something, but it needs to be more casual. Maybe get out of your vehicle, get a chance to relate with the people.
Yeah.
Well, last year we did
Last
that.
year we
We
did.
got the garage set up. Remember, I don't know if maybe you were away. I think you were away.
I think I was away, yeah.
Yeah, we screened, we put the parade float in there, and we had like picked foods and a few, like some wine and stuff. And I think it was well served. The garage was very nice. It was a nice facility. But people, Mark mentioned on the week, like he heard that, maybe people weren't prepared to stand, so maybe we gotta put more tables so they can sit if they want, or we can do that. But it's not a formal meal, so if they want a formal meal that you go out, then of course, if you do the formal meal, you're not getting a basket, because they can't afford both, but.
But the former meal, you don't really go around to the table while they're reading, where it's not as casual where you can
No.
actually engage in conversation with the volunteers.
I thought last year was probably one of the best events we've had for volunteers. You did have the opportunity, we had those stand-up tables.
Yeah.
And we could certainly put more tables down. It was well decorated, it was well attended, I thought. It gave council members a chance to go around, talk to any taxpayers, vice versa. I thought it was very good last year. My recommendation is do what we did last year, maybe just add a couple of things to it. Wendy?
I know I wasn't here in previous years, so I can't speak to it, but I did attend last year. And I personally, for myself, liked it because I was actually able to go around and talk to people. Where if it's a formal setting, I think people will just sit in their little clumps of who they always sit with, and you don't get to talk with people.
It's true.
Al?
And people really appreciate the LV swag that they get too, you know? A lot of people really like that kind of stuff and show it off. And
No, for sure. And people come, I don't know, I think we were 2 hours or 3 hours last year?
Yeah, 2 or 3 or something like that.
3 hours from 5 to 8 or whatever I think we were last year. Gave people a chance to go home and change and come or do it, they're busy right after work. Unless somebody wants something else, we could direct staff now and.
So I guess the question here is, do we want to go out to the groups? Do you want to make a decision now, or, whatever? I got to make some kind of movement at this point to decide.
Betty?
I think we do it here. Just make the decision, do it here. Then it's taking the weight off of the recreation facilities to have to try and man the bar and do, because it's basically celebrating them and thanking them for their service. So
Yep.
if it's a central location here at the garage, it's something that we as council and staff here put on for. I think we just go that route.
Brian?
Yeah, I think last year was real good, and if we're looking for something other than the dancing, music and dancing end of things, you could add a comedy end to it and incorporate maybe Toastmasters, because Toastmasters has various types of competitions. There'll be competitions for comedy, and they're very brief and concise, so they'd be 3 to 5 minute sessions, so you could get a few of them in to, add a little something, some humor through the night too, that would give them an opportunity to be able to practice and showcase their stuff, and it would give a little lightness or program to the evening as well.
Sure. Okay.
All right, we'll work on something to that effect. Appreciate that.
Alrighty. Under business information items, Highway 148 update. So, Dean got a letter a couple of weeks ago. We've discussed it a number of times. We thought we should bring it to council. I'm going to let Dean kind of go through where we're at with that letter, and then we'll have a discussion on it.
Yeah, I guess so. After council, I mean, we've been through this, obviously, through the gamut a couple times. We did write a letter back. I did get a response from Mr. Belanger's supervisor, because he's been away. The 3 points that I recall putting in were obviously the drive-in intersection lights, the Greenwood and 148 intersection as well, and I believe that the construction schedule. So we put that in. As we know, the drive-in road lights are certainly on the warrant. They warrant the lights. There's no question about that. We're just trying to see if, because of, we understand that the project is very, very intricate and very, very complex. So it's been slower. The design and all the acquiring the lands and everything needed has been slower than we would have liked. So now they're saying it's probably a 2-year construction phase, but not starting until 24. So that's me 24, 25, and then the way it goes is probably 26. So we've kind of said, okay, that's not acceptable. At least for the lights at Drive-In Road, we need to get them up earlier. They do not want to put temporary lights. They want to put. They are okay with possibly putting the lights up if they can acquire the needed land. So we did say, if you're having trouble with some of the landowners there, and I think there's one in particular they're having trouble with, that we would help out and contact them, and maybe we could, sway. So they're still in discussion mode. They said if they can get that done in the 6 months, then they will put the lights up for earlier than later. But if it's going to be, if they have to go through the expropriation to get the land and everything, and it's 12 to 18 months, then they're probably just going to let it go into the contract and then deal with it. So that's still a little bit out there. The 148 Greenwood intersection is, unfortunately, they're not bending. They said it currently doesn't warrant, the traffic volumes don't warrant the actual intersection regulation. So it's, whether it's a roundabout or lights, they don't warrant. They said it'll be designed with the idea that when it does warrant, it wouldn't be a big job to put them in, or put it in, the roundabout. We did ask, part of our conversation when we had our transportation master plan consultant, part of our initial thing was to kind of do a third-party review of the actual design of 148 in that intersection too. So they were there, they presented, did a very good job, I should say. It was Paradigm Consulting. And one of the things we asked for was, could we, because there's going to be some intersection work at Greenwood and 148 with the extension of the merges both ways and some other stuff that's going on there, do a cost analysis of doing that work and doing the roundabout work and see how close it is. Maybe there's not much close. Well, they came back and the prices were unfortunately unrealistic. They're saying, the work that they're going to do is $250,000 and a roundabout is $6 million or some crazy number. It was just ridiculous. I mean, to me, I can't see how they put $6 million. So, but the long and the short of it is, it doesn't warrant, and they're really not willing to do anything now. So unless we do some, and I have been in contact with Mr. Yakubuski's office, but they're saying because of the warrants, there's not much they can do. So unless we want to do some political noise, and I did mention to the mayor, maybe at Good Roads this year with regards to when they do have those delegations, you can go and meet. Maybe it's time to go down there and do a little bit of a presentation anyway, and be heard a little bit. We don't normally kind of go, going to a lot of these, but certainly in this case, because of the value and the importance of it, maybe it's time to make a little bit more noise than we have been doing. So that's an option there. And then the timing again is they're hoping to exactly put it together and a tender be let out this winter, and construction hopefully would begin next year, some of it anyway. So that's the update. It's not real positive, but we're still kind of knocking at the door, so they certainly know we are still here.
Yeah, just maybe add to that, and I asked Dean, because they hadn't responded to our last letter early in the summer, that it's getting beyond frustration for us, for the taxpayers. Every time you see a taxpayer in driving road areas when the light's coming, I really struggle with the fact that now this fall they're going to start working on temporary lights, where we've been asking for the last year and a half. I know in the bottom of the email or the letter that he talked about getting a fall meeting. I think we should respond to this letter saying we want a meeting with MTO in person as soon as possible. This is a list of our frustrations, and for them to say now that they have to go out and get more private land to put temporary lights out, I just don't understand it. It just, unfortunately, this 148 issue has just been boggled down by delays, by I don't believe that they've done their job properly on this project, and we, our Laurentian Valley taxpayers and other municipalities that use that area, are suffering because of that. And I just hope something tragically doesn't happen at 148 and Drive-In Road. But all we can do is keep pushing. So we're going to send a letter back, and they don't seem to want to come forward with any other information, as Dean said. If now they need more land for temporary lights, and it's going to take them 15 months, or could take them up to 15 months is what they say, 6 months to 15 months, well, the lights will be in hopefully by then, if it's gonna be 2024 when they start. And they did say back, sorry, on 1 second, or Betty, when he came and spoke to us last time, I think it was up to 3 years, with how long the project was gonna take right out to Quebec turnoff, so. It's just, at one time, it was supposed to be 1 year. We started this, first meeting we had was either 2016 or 17, in this office with MTO. We're now 6 years later, and absolutely nothing's been done on the road. And now, the road's getting so bad that either they gotta come and do some repairs before driving the road coming from Home Depot. It's terrible. So we need to bring these factors up again to MTO, so we need to request that meeting. Betty, and then Alan.
Just one quick thing, I'm not sure, is everything changed from that open house meeting? Because I think I was with you when he said they were planning lights at 148, am I incorrect in that?
No, there are lights going in, but what we're asking for is temporary lights.
No,
148,
at the
Oh,
Greenwood
no,
intersection.
no.
I'm sure that's what he was talking about when we were standing with him that day, was it not? Anyway, I could have been misunderstanding what he was saying too.
No, I think.
I've never heard anything, they've never really bowed from their position there with regards to 148 and
Our
Greenwood.
original request was lights or a roundabout. Our preference was a roundabout. But they've continued to come back saying it's not warranted, but yet they're planning for 25 years. I don't get it. And we've sent them what potential development we have in that immediate area. And if all those homes are in 10 years, 12 years, definitely going to need something at the Quebec turnoff, so. Anyway, Alan.
Would it be of any use to get somebody like a JP2G to tell us how construction lights would work at that intersection? So you go out Round Lake Road now, and at the bridge, they've had all summer a set of construction lights up at the bridge. Hasn't been an issue there all summer whatsoever. Why can't they put a set of construction lights up, four-way construction lights up, at that intersection until they're ready to go with the permanent ones? That's the part that boggles my mind, that this day and age, that they couldn't put a set of construction lights up at that intersection.
And yet they're saying, they're calling them temporary signal poles.
There've got to be more than what, like a construction set of traffic lights are. We've all seen them, we've all been through them, right?
We did ask for that, and that's probably 3 years ago or 4. I remember the Reeve at the time, Robinson stated she wanted it, so we did ask that. And their point was, and this is what they said at the time, that there was not enough room in the actual right-of-way to be able to put them out there safely because of the volume of traffic. And I don't know whether, but we can certainly put it up again, there's no question.
So that's kind of why my comment is, let's go away from MTO, let's go to a JP2G or somebody else that's involved in big construction projects like that, and get their opinion on if a set of construction lights could work in that area.
Okay.
Keith?
Just growth in the last while, say from 2016, 17, Whitewater region, like in Westmeath, Beachburg, like the traffic, and I think nobody knows better than probably Alan on that one, the amount of traffic going through there. They cut across on Whitewater, they cut across on Robinson, and then they cut across on Sawmill to the highway to head on up. But if we get a measure of the growth over the past, and I'm sure it's going to continue through COVID, property we're really selling. So if we could say that growth has accelerated to a certain percent, it's only going to continue. The other thing is, we're not in the south, we're not in the north, we're kind of neglected. We really are. And
Absolutely.
I've heard that many times, that I think it's very obvious.
So I can honestly tell you that I was around when that was Highway 17 that went through there. And there's as much traffic on it today as there was when that was Highway 17. That's before the bypass. And Brian can attest to that too. To get in and out of our driveways, sometimes it's unbelievable.
Is there any chance that we could get the county involved trying to send a letter off with any pressure?
They have been involved, but I just wrote myself a note. I'm gonna ask the county a little bit more to see if there's any participation on the actual intersection, to see if we can get a formal. I know we did reach out to the Public Works Department at the county before to do traffic counts, and were good enough to do that and analyze the warrants too. They, again, didn't get the numbers we were hoping for, but anyway, maybe there's some more they can do for us.
Okay. Anybody else? So Dean will respond to this
Yeah.
letter, and council will get copies. I believe we're down to bylaws.
Correct. Motion, please.
Betty and Jennifer?
Moved by Councillor King, second by Councillor Gauthier, that the following bylaws be enacted and passed and be read a first, second, and third time, and be numbered and signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in this bylaw book this 19th day of September 2023. Bylaw 2023-09049 to provide expenses and allowances for members of council and staff. Bylaw 2023-09050 to enter into an agreement with Pemberton Area Airport Commission for disposition of particular property located in the town of Petawawa. Bylaw 2023-09051 to provide consent to the Pemberton Area Airport Commission to sell any real property owned by the Pemberton Area Airport Commission. And bylaw 2023-09052 to authorize execution of contract for the reconstruction of Roy Street West between RGT Kluche Construction Limited and the Corporation of Township of Laurentian Valley.
All in favor? Carried. Council comments? O'Brien?
Missed it by that much.
I had a discussion with a resident on Wilson Road who's concerned about the speed, but most of Wilson Road is 60 kilometers, and then it changes on the one end for a very short distance. And her home is in that short distance and says that as soon as people get to that point, they're flooring it. And the question is, why isn't it the same speed limit for the entire length of Wilson Road? And she said she likes to walk every day, but she can't walk on that road because there really isn't any shoulders there. It drops right off into the ditch, and in front of her house, it's a higher speed, and why we couldn't extend that 60 the entire length.
I did bring this up, I think, a little bit at last meeting with Mark. I did also receive a call. We did get the speed sign out, I think the next day, actually, just happened to work out that way. And once that is done, Mark's gonna get a study, and I'll let Mark explain the process.
Can you comment now, Mark, or do you want to do some evaluation? I know you did have some results.
Yeah, so our results, the speed limit was hardly over 60 kilometers an hour was the average. Now, when people do see the sign, it naturally, makes people slow down. The reason behind the length of the zone was we kind of look at the areas that are built up where the more dense population is, and so that's why the other end where there only is a couple of homes, why it wasn't all included. The OPP have often told us when we make speed zones that are excessively long with lower rates of speed, people just get complacent. They don't want to drive that speed limit, and they start speeding anyway. We had that issue on Beeline Road that was dropped to 50 kilometers an hour years ago, and the police could sit there every day and they can't catch, it goes on all the time, because at that time we had 4 kilometers of 50 kilometers an hour on a arterial road through the township. So we are looking at reviewing some of the speed limit bylaw, and that is one that we could look at extending. I know a comment was made from our staff with the brushing we've recently done, that even in the 60 zone, the high rate of speed that when they were working there, that people just were disobeying the signs and our crew and didn't really care in cutting through. So not so much even the part that is 80, even the 60 zone, that we are seeing some problems with what's going on through there. So something we'll have to reevaluate and look at for extending, and then looking at that 60 zone too for some further enforcement in there.
Yeah, I know we talked about having a sign at Robinson Road and Wilson Road, and a sign at Driven Road, because, it's not, at one of the ends, it's not there, so it only shows it up halfway through, a quarter of the way through. So, yeah, that is something that Mark is looking at, and you'll come back to us in the fall with a report, right? Okay. But you did say that the speed average was 60?
Yes, it was a little over 60 kilometers an
Wow.
hour, and we had it out the year before, and it was about the same result in the same range that it's not. But again, people see the sign and they slow down. What's the sign we have, it does only record the vehicles that are coming towards the sign. The new ones that we've purchased, it does record both ways, but only displays the one. And it's interesting that the motorists that can see their speed, they're probably, within 5 to 8 kilometers of the speed limit, and heading, away from the sign and not seeing it, they're probably 10 to 15 over. So the sign does work. It's nice with the newer signs. Unfortunately, the trailer doesn't have that one on it. But the permanent installs, they do actually record speed limits in both directions, and it's interesting to see that split.
It's catching all the tractors, though, that's bringing the average down.
Yes, it could very well be.
I don't know, I followed a few tractors. Anybody else? Betty?
I did have someone ask me about the Mixburg Road from 41 to M&R Feeds. They're wondering if that section is anywhere in a plan to be resurfaced at all?
Yeah, so we are hopefully sitting down next week and going over our capital plan and reviewing roads. And we will be looking at our Street Logic software that does some ratings on our roads and setting some priorities. So yeah, we are aware we did a section of Mixburg Road a couple of years ago, and there is another third of it, and that's that first section that's getting to be in pretty tough shape. So yeah.
The only thing I'll mention is I think everybody got a copy of the email that was sent to us regarding school buses and the lack of drivers, et cetera. I did reach out to Mike Gannett, who is our representative. He did inform me that, yes, there is a shortage of drivers for all routes, and he said it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. Also, the lack of dollars that the provincial government is giving towards transportation. They just keep expanding the limits as to how far your child has to be from the school in order to get onto a bus. So there are quite a few concerns. Obviously, September is always the worst month because kids are back to school. But he is contacting that ratepayer, and I'll get back to council if there's anything that I can provide, be helpful for the next one that has an issue. Anything else for council? Oh, okay. Confirmatory bylaw.
Note and file first.
Oh, sorry, note and file.
Mover and seconder.
Keith and Wendy?
Moved by Reeve Watt, second by Councillor Hewitt, that any items not specifically addressed by motion of council in the regular council meeting of September 19th be noted and filed accordingly.
All in favor? Carried.
Confirmatory.
Confirmatory bylaw. Alan and Jennifer.
Moved by Councillor Wren, second by Councillor Gauthier, that be resolved that the Council of Township of Laurentian Valley approves confirmatory bylaw 2023-09054 as having been introduced and read a first, second, and third time, and the said bylaw be numbered and signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with seal of corporation this 19th day of September 2023.
All in favor? Carried. Motion to conclude. Wendy and Brian.
Moved by Councillor Hewitt, second by Councillor Ugly, that the regular council meeting of September 19th, 2023 be adjourned at 6:30.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you.